Hello. I am going to jump right in then and cover as much ground as I possibly can in the time that we have here. So please add your questions to the chat and then I'll address them at the end. And to set the table here, I'm going to go over a couple things. I'm mostly addressing medical aesthetics practices during this presentation, but it really applies to all cash-based beauty services and medical practices. So whether you're a plastic surgeon or an esthetician or somewhere in between, these things will apply to you and will definitely help you. I'm also hoping that this presentation is a little different than the ones you've seen in the past. I want to address your growth holistically and teach you some things that aren't even services that we provide. So MyAdvice is a digital marketing firm, right? And if you've been in business for a while, you've undoubtedly been burned by some marketing person along the way. Unfortunately, it's a really common occurrence in our industry. And I want to address this because it really happens for two reasons. Number one is that there are about 25,000 digital marketing agencies out there. And a lot of them aren't that great, right? They're either just totally inept, they're under resourced sometimes they're just downright bad people. And I want to make sure that y'all know that I understand this and that you need to look under the hood a little bit more for anyone you decide to work with. Make sure you're picking someone who works in your field, understands your industry, and holds up to some pretty tough questioning. Okay. The second reason that people have bad experiences with marketing firms is because business owners like yourselves misunderstand the way that your relationship should be with your marketing firm. What I mean by this is that you as a business owner need to be an active member of the marketing team. It is and always will be a team game. So if you're looking to hire a marketing firm just to offload this work and never look at it again, you need to take a look in the mirror because you're setting yourself up for failure. Your marketing firm also needs to be a long-term true partner that travels this road this journey that we're going to go on with you, not for you. And I tell practices that I consult with all the time, I tell them, listen, if you aren't going to commit to a year at least, then I'm not the right choice for you. So just think of that. Make sure that when you're looking at marketing firms or thinking about your marketing strategy, that you take this into consideration. Because if you want to in-house it all and do it yourself, like more power to you. This presentation is going to help you a lot. But if you are looking to hire a marketing firm to help you grow and make you more efficient, they will do that. They can give you back a lot of time. They know what they're doing more than you do, probably, and they can guide you and help you go along this growth and really be super profitable. Now, I talk to a lot of practice owners, right? And everyone I talk to says that they're trying to grow. I rarely talk to people who don't want to grow their business. And the question it always comes down to, right? Why we're here is how. How do you grow your practice? And before we get started on that conversation, we need to, again, lay the groundwork for a few more pieces there and start with who are you trying to attract to your practice? Because at the end of the day, without the who, there is no growth. And when I ask practices this question, I'll get a lot of answers. I'll get, hey, this income level or this age group or, this demographic, whatever it is, right? And I boil it down even simpler than that. I say, listen, you're trying to attract people, humans, right? And these people have feelings, they have concerns, they have desires, and they're highly emotional. And one of the most important things you can understand as a business owner is that your clients do not pick you based on logic. Pick you based entirely off of emotions. That there's a lot of research that's been done into how people make decisions, and it is all emotional based. We use logic to affirm our emotional decisions or justify them, but all of our decisions, and especially when we talk about medical aesthetics, are emotional. And there's really one emotion that drives it more than anything else, and that's trust. So it's important for you to understand that the only reason you have any clients at all is because those clients trust you. And you have to constantly earn that trust. And that the hardest time to earn that trust is before they ever come to you. Because once they're in your office, you can talk to them, right? You can build that rapport. You can do great work. You can do great follow up, and you can do your job really, really well. And they'll continue to come back to you for years. But before that, they don't know you and they don't trust you. Even if they get a referral from someone they do know and trust, it's not necessarily enough to get them all the way there. So again, people ask me, so Michael, how do we get people to trust us to then pick us to go and grow our practice? And to do that, it really requires us to start by talking about lead sources. So I want to address lead sources by coming over to my presentation here. So I'm sharing my screen now. And let's talk about lead sources. So your two main lead sources within medical aesthetics or any aesthetics practice at all are referrals or the internet, right? So word of mouth referrals. I hope you guys like my silly little pictures here. I did this on purpose to not distract too much, but word of mouth referrals and the internet. And the interesting thing is that most practices I talk to do fairly well on this side, at least when they're new, especially if you're a new practice. You can grow this way, and it should be a really major lead source. I also bring this up because I've heard too many marketing firms try to downplay referrals as a part of your growth strategy, or they'll try to say that it's not as valuable as the internet. And that's just not true. Anyone who's in medical aesthetics knows that referrals should actually be your number one lead source and your first major lead source. What we've seen over the past few years, though, is that it's not as simple as black and white. It's not referrals or the internet. It's that these two blend together now, especially from referrals, because they will still look at your online presence, your website, your reviews, or whatever, which we'll talk about in a second. But with referrals, you need to set yourself up for success there. And if you're going to spend any of your actual time doing anything, this is where you need to spend it, because you cannot outsource referrals. Okay. So we're going to talk about it a little bit more in depth, but I just want to make sure people understand that it is valuable. It's super important, and you shouldn't be trying to outsource referrals. Okay. It's very, very difficult to do that, if not downright impossible. And if you're going to outsource any lead source, it needs to be the internet, because there's entire industries built to that. And we've done it for thousands of practices, and it works really well. But the key here is that 95% of practices that I consult with cannot reach their goals without a cohesive strategy that blends these two together and uses them to build trust within their clientele that they want to attract for growth. Okay. So let's talk about first referrals. So referrals could be a number of things, but I break them down into either personal or professional referrals, right? Personal, friends, family, clients that refer other people to you. And these are really, really great. Okay. Professional referrals, so say you're a medical spa, right? Do you know hair girls? Do you know nail girls? Do you know personal trainers, estheticians that are private, physicians that don't offer aesthetics in their practice, right? These are the type of businesses and professional networking that can build referral sources for you. So again, if you're going to spend any of your actual time doing anything for your practice to help it grow, these relationships is what you do for that. You can set up referral bonuses. You can set up referral programs, referral memberships. There's a bunch of ideas there that have been done that are successful in some way or another. You got to pick the right strategy for you. And if you want to talk more in depth about what these look like, book some time with me and we can talk about that. But at the end of the day, again, if you're going to spend any of your time doing anything, work on your referrals, because you can't outsource this, and this will bring quicker leads than anything you can do online, including ads. All right, so let's move on. The internet. I love this picture. I think it's silly because everyone's all upset. This is a lot of practices that I talk to that sit around a computer trying to market themselves online, don't know what they're doing, and this is how they feel. So internet leads can take a number of different forms, right? Ads, you can do social media, you can do what we call organic search. That's basically if people Google things, right? And again, this is a very valuable and viable lead source, by far more scalable and repeatable than anything like radio or billboards, right? Anything like that, which I'm kind of ignoring here because it's not typically attainable for a new practice or a normal practice, nor necessary most of the time, whereas these things are. So we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about how you actually use the internet to earn people's trust, to set yourself up for success, to attract their eyeballs, their clicks, and is eventually get them to pick you, right? It's a very proven strategy that we use, and we're going to talk about it. But to get there, we need to talk about organic search, okay? Organic local searches, by far the most valuable. I like the little treasure map because that's kind of what this is, right? We're trying to follow the map to the treasure. What organic local searches are, if you don't know, is things like Google Maps. If I go to Google Maps and I search Botox, or if I go to Google and search Botox near me, right? If I go into Yelp and search Botox, like those are all organic local searches. Okay. And when you say organic, you mean non-ad based. So you can run ads for Botox if you do it right, and those ads can come up. That's not organic. That's paid search. Okay. We'll get to that. Organic means you didn't pay to show up at the top of the list. You didn't bid on that click. Okay. You can do this organically. And those leads, statistically and historically speaking, are significantly more valuable and high quality leads than anything else that you can do online. Okay. And local search is because you are a local business. If you do Botox, no one can get injected if they don't come to you, right? Like that is the definition of a local business. And if you don't know this, Google has different search algorithms per what they think people are looking for. So if they think someone's looking for a local product, service, provider, whatever, that algorithm is different than what shows up for like a generic Google search. Okay. So this is what we're talking about here, right? Near me searches, Apple Maps, Waze, Garmin, Google Maps, right? And then generic searches are like the traditional Google homepage, right? So if you go on Google and you search Botox, just a normal Botox search, all you get are things from Allergan, right? Maybe the Mayo Clinic, WebMD, stuff like that. But if you go on Google Maps and do that same search, all you get are providers. So it's important to understand that these local searches are much more valuable to you as a provider. Okay. The other reason they're most valuable, we touched on this, is that they are the highest lifetime value clients. Okay. I always tell people, and normally people are on board with this, but I say avoid Groupon. Groupon is literally a discount service and a discount marketplace and directory where the type of people you will get from there will not be high quality, long-term lifetime value clients. For a fully loaded medical spa in the US, that number is $57,000 for each patient. Okay. That's the number that you're looking for. Okay. And depending on what services you offer, that number could be different, right? But your practice will have its version of this, and it's a big number. So a thought exercise I put people through that I consult with is I say, okay, think of, don't even tell me, but think of your top 1 to 3 clients, right? You know exactly who they are. Go back to your books and figure out how much they spend with you in a year. And figure out what it would mean for you if you got 2 or 3 more of those clients in the next year. I guarantee that number is a bigger number than getting 20 new people from Groupon who come to you once. Okay. The way you build up a successful business in aesthetics is repeat clientele, long-term clients. That brings up the lifetime value. Okay. That's what we're going for here. And that's what our strategy is proven to attract and retain. Okay. So how can I use the internet to attract these high quality clients via local searches, right? Because we said we want high quality people. We need to earn their trust. And the most valuable place to find them is local searches, right? So that's what we're going for. You sign up with MyAdvice. This is just a selfish plug here. So if you need to chat with me to have a personalized conversation, I'm going to have my link for my calendar in the chat. Okay. But seriously, you follow the pyramid of success. This is our proven process that helps you use the internet and local searches to gain the trust and attract high quality lifetime value clients, right? You start at the bottom, you work your way up as aggressively as your goals and your budget align. And the things at the bottom aren't that expensive. The things at the top are the more expensive things. Because I'll tell you, a lot of the reasons people get burned by marketing firms, specifically in aesthetics, is that their marketing firm calls them and they say, hey, we need to redo your website, make it beautiful and awesome. And then we're going to jump right up to SEO and make you show up at the top of every search. Okay. We're going to make you show up number 1. And I've heard people say that. And number 1, if anyone promises you that they can get you to the number 1 spot on Google, they're a liar. Okay. You cannot promise that. Google's algorithm has thousands of factors. It is impossible to guarantee that, as well as it's impossible because there are thousands, millions of different iterations of every single type of search for all the services that you offer. There are thousands of searches for Botox alone and thousands of iterations and different algorithms that it could go through. So if someone tells you they can get you on the top page of Google or the number 1 spot, they're talking about one single search for one single service, and that's still not a guarantee. So it's important to recognize that if someone calls you and jumps from 1 to number 3 here, that you don't want to work with them. They don't understand your industry, okay? These things in the middle are significantly more important than most practices and most marketing firms give credit for. And we're going to talk about what these are. But I want to start by talking about the website. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to share a different screen with you guys. So here's a website that we've designed that I really, really like. This is called the Sting Medical Aesthetics, actually in Ontario, Canada. But I'm a sucker for this website because I like black and white sites. But I want to point this out. Your site needs to do 2 things. It needs to influence both consumer behavior and search engine behavior. And what that means is we need to make sure that people like your site and that this site will earn the trust of those people, right? Consumer behavior is trust. We talked about that, right? You need this site to earn their trust and drive them towards the next step. The next step is a conversation with you, a consultation, right? So book now buttons, right? Phone number. We have a lot of data that says that phone numbers are actually the number one way people want to contact you. And you notice no matter where I scroll around, we never lose sight of that phone number. Even if I shrink this down as if it's on a mobile device, you'll notice the click to call button is at the bottom right of the screen now. So if I'm right-handed, that's the button nearest my thumb. We make a lot of money for our clients because of this one simple trick that's not hard to do. Okay. But it's about understanding the patient journey that people go on. A couple other things there. Okay. You need this to influence consumer behavior. We talk about trust, accessibility toolbars. This is actually a legal requirement for most medical practices in the United States to be compliant with the Americans with Disabilities Act. And there are ways to do it without this toolbar. This is just the easiest, simplest, and most public way to do that. So it ends up working really well to earn trust as well as not get you in trouble with like fines and lawsuits. Okay. A couple other things to think about here. You notice how this site doesn't use a single stock photo on the homepage. Okay. Talk about trust, making people feel like they know you. If you go to this website and you look through this website for a while, you will feel like you know these people before you ever even call them. Okay. Now, if you don't have good photography like this, we can use stock photos to help you, but it'll never be as good as if you have stuff like this. Okay. These sorts of digital assets can make or break your online presence. So that's the stuff that really works on the consumer side. But how do you influence search engine behavior too? Well, number one, notice that this isn't just a one-page site. This site is about 60, 75 pages. And all of these services have their own page. And that's very important because Google wants to see your keywords and what are called header tags, meaning the title of the page. So Sculptra, for example, that's a great keyword to be searched for. And if you have an entire page dedicated to that, Google recognizes that and will put you higher up on the list for those services. You also need to build your site on WordPress. Okay. These sites are built on WordPress, and for WordPress websites, will always search better than the exact same site on like a Wix or Squarespace. Here's another site that I really like. This one's a little darker and moodier and has stock photos, but at the end of the day, it's still beautiful and still really compelling visually for actual consumers, as well as structured the right way with the proper drop downs, the proper content on their different pages to help you earn the search engine trust in addition to the consumer trust. So that's the first part. Now I want to come back and I want to show you guys this pyramid. So I'm coming back to this pyramid here, and excuse me for bouncing around a little bit, but I want to make sure I'm showing you guys the most valuable things. We started at the bottom of the website, right? I hope that's pretty clear. If you do anything online, you need a website because you cannot validate your information to consumers and to search engines without it, okay? This is one of the things I alluded to earlier, that the client journey has changed over the last few years, and that a personal referral isn't enough to get you that business yet anymore. A personal referral is only enough to get you to the next step, which is looking you up online. So people will find you organically online who don't know you and don't have referrals, but the people who get referrals to you will still look at you online, and your website's a really big part of that. It has to validate you as a legitimate business and earn you that next step, that conversation. So that's the first step with the website. Second step is what we call local power. This refers to your local directories. So I said it earlier, right? Local searches could be on Google, but they could also be on Yelp. They could be on MapQuest. They could be on Apple Maps, right? There are about 65 sites and 15 mobile apps that really, really matter to an aesthetics practice for two reasons. Number one, you need to be on them because you will get consumers and clients from some of those weird sites that you never expected, okay? You may not, but you will from some that you don't know, okay? Number two is that Google uses how prevalent your information is on directory sites as part of their trust factor for their search engine optimization. So if you have no presence outside of Google, like you're on Google, but you're not on Yelp, you're not on Bing, you're not on MapQuest, right? That harms you because Google does not consider you as legitimate of a business, especially a local business, if you do not have a presence on directory sites. So one of the things I show people are these success stories. So we actually did a study where we took 200 new users to what we call local power, right? Where we manage and maintain all these listings for them. And after 60 days, we saw these increases, 23% more views on Google search, 22% increase in requests for directions, 18% increase in clicks to their site, and an 11% increase in phone calls in 60 days. So again, you don't need to answer me, but think about it in your head. If you got 11% more phone calls 60 days from now than you are now, what would that mean for you financially and for your business? Heck, if you got 5% more phone calls, let's be conservative here. If you got 5% more phone calls, what would that mean for you and your business financially and for your long-term success? So that's local power. That's really important. It's one of the most foundational pieces to Google's local search algorithm. And we call it local power because it is very much directed toward local searches. It's much more valuable for those map searches and those near me searches than it is for generic Google searches. Okay. That's why SEO comes later and these things come first. Next is review power. So review power is kind of like what it sounds, right? Is how do you get lots of reviews that are good specifically on Google? I'm sure I don't need to teach you all this, but if you don't know, Google reviews are one of the easiest, simplest things that you can use, one of the best tools to drive your practice to success. Okay. Because again, they're influencing both consumer behavior and search engine behavior. So consumer behavior, right? We talk about trust, right? Trust is the only way that you can get these people to work with you. No better way to earn someone's trust locally than to show them 1,000 names of people who trust you already. Google reviews are by far the most valuable. Number one, because Google's the most used platform. But number two is you have to put your name on your Google review. It's public. So if I want to leave a review for a med spa, I have to say that I got Botox done or whatever, right? That's a huge trust factor. If you have clients who leave you good, happy reviews that mention what they had done, that is incredibly valuable for consumers, but also for search engines. So if you don't know this on the search engine side, Google has made reviews more valuable within their local search algorithm every year for 7 years in a row. That's not going anywhere. Okay. With Google reviews, Google loves them because it makes their platform more valuable. Because the more reviews you have there, the more viable of an asset they are for you, and the less likely you are to go to some other platform, right? Number two is Google wants to reward you for little things. So if you respond to every review, that's a great thing. You need to do that if you're not doing that, okay? If you are not getting your clients to leave what they had done, who they had it with, where they were when they had it. These are all what Google calls mentions, service mentions, location mentions, provider mentions that can all make your reviews more valuable. Okay. They're also keywords that Google will put up if people search that. The other thing is you need to pass the vibe check. If you have 10 reviews and every one of your competitors has 100 reviews, sorry, you're out of luck. But for Google, you need to consistently be gathering reviews because Google likes to see a consistent effort and consistent results over time instead of just like 30 reviews today. That could actually get those reviews blocked because it looks shady. So a consistent, regular effort for Google reviews is going to help your practice more than a lot of other things. And again, this is something that it depends on where you're at, whether or not you actually need help with this. Because if you're brand new and you don't have two nickels to rub together and you've seen 3 clients, don't pay someone to help you with reviews. You just need to start texting people yourself to help with those reviews. Now, the other side of that is if you're a busy practice and you see, I don't know, 15, 20 people a week, you start to run out of time to be able to do this yourself. So what ends up happening is you need a consistent, repeatable process that doesn't take up a ton of time to be able to ask people for reviews. So we call it reputation management in the industry. So if you've ever gone to the dentist and you leave and an hour later you get that email, right, that's asking you, hey, would you leave us a review? That's called reputation management. And dentists have been doing this for years, and they're kind of silly with it because it's all email based. It's not very personalized. So there's a better, smarter way to do that. And it's through what we call review power. So it's a text and email based tool to allow you to en masse send out requests for reviews that will link people to your Google review page, your Facebook page to leave a review. And the way it works is you can set up campaigns that will say, hey, I'm going to send this person 3 texts and 2 emails over, 10 days or whatever it is. You can customize that so that they will be reminded to leave me a review. And if they follow that link and leave a review, the system will actually recognize them and recognize that and pull them out of the sequence. So if you are seeing 10, 15, 20 people a week and you just don't have the time to be able to send review requests out personally via text, talk to me and we can help you out with this. It's not that expensive and it will make a huge difference in your practice if you can consistently gather valuable reviews. Okay. Social media is the next one. When it comes down to social media, there are 2 schools of thought with social media. Number one is use it as a sales tool. Okay. And if you're going to use social media as a sales tool, you really need to run it as an influencer. Just to be honest, like you have to in-house it. You cannot outsource it because it needs to be 100% authentic, 100% sincere, and you need to post a ton. It's like a full-time job. You need to post multiple times a day, stories, all of it. You need to work with influencers. Like there's a lot you need to do if you're going to run social media as a sales tool, especially in aesthetics. If you need some examples for that, let me know, and I can send you guys some examples of people who really crush it on using social media as a sales tool. The second school of thought on social media is using it as more of a retention tool, because let's be honest, a lot of medical aesthetics providers out there are medical professionals. They're just not that into social media. And if you're not that into social media, you're just not going to run it as an influencer, or at least not do it very well if you try. So how do you still leverage social media to be profitable and make sure that you're not neglecting it to lose money? And the answer is you outsource it to a company like us to automatically post high quality content, albeit a little generic, so that you still have a presence. Because again, we talked about how people validate you on your social media, or excuse me, on your website and on your reviews. Social media is another one of there. There's a whole segment of the population, typically younger folks, right? That instead of going to your website, they'll go to your Instagram page to see if you're legit. If you don't have content there, it looks like you abandoned it 3 years ago, you're done, you're out. They're people are that judgy, like no chance for you. Not to mention Google, as part of their search engine side of things, wants to see a consistent posting schedule on your social media. So if you've neglected your Facebook and your Instagram for 3 years, Google recognizes that and that hurts you. It's a small amount, but it hurts you. So what we can do is, if you're in that boat of I need something, I'm not going to do it myself, and I need it for retention purposes to keep popping up on people's feed and for search engine purposes, we can automate that for you. We've got a huge library of content that's been proofread by physicians that is accurate, informational, educational content for your services that can help you look good, educate your clients, as well as look good to search engines. So that's the social media side of things. And I want to make a little quick pause here, because 1 through 4 is the first step in your online presence. You should never, ever do anything without doing at least 1 through 4 here. Wheels of the car, you can't drive the car without these things, okay? 5 and 6 are for more aggressive practices. Say you're in the middle of Dallas or Atlanta or a big metro, right? Or you're in Manhattan. Like you need to start doing SEO and paid search if that's the case, because it's just that competitive. And if you want to aggressively grow, even in a smaller market that's less competitive, to grow aggressively, you'll want to jump into these things. But there are a lot of practices out there in smaller towns, or maybe they just don't have that aggressive growth goals. They can accomplish a lot and there's just a ton of opportunity with these things down here. And these are not that expensive for an aesthetics practice, okay? When we start getting into paid search and SEO, though, that's where things get longer term, number one, because SEO is a really long play, but higher dollar amounts. So SEO is when we start talking about things like, blog writing, link building, schema tagging, keywords, the really proper research into the back end of what's being searched in my area, right? There's a ton of work that goes into those things, and it's a much longer play because there have been people out there doing SEO for 10 years and you need to catch up. There's also, once you start doing SEO, you start being in competition with larger organizations and corporations, things like WebMD, Mayo Clinic stuff, right? That want to answer these same questions that you want to answer. So how do we be competitive with them on a more local scale? How do we utilize generic search in my area? Like there's all these things that matter for SEO, and we can help you with that. And again, if you want to talk about this to see if it's something you need, we need to have a personal conversation, a personal consultation to go over your practice, your market, your area, to talk about that. But it's something that you need to keep on your radar. Okay. The last one is paid search. Now, this can be a long-term or short-term, because we can set up Google ads, Meta ads, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it takes, right? And there's a really important way that this needs to drive traffic. And especially if you need leads tomorrow, like a lot of these things are longer plays, okay? The website takes 30 to 60 days to build. Local power takes about 60 days to start getting results. Review power, you got to start getting reviews before you see results, right? SEO could be 9 to 12 months down the road, depending on where you're at. Paid search can be tomorrow, right? So a lot of times we will use ads as a way to, okay, we need to grow right now. Let's start a Google ad campaign or whatever it is, right? And then we will slowly wean you off of this as some of these other organic search tactics take hold and start to give us results, because you cannot have paid search sustain your business forever. I had a conversation with a it was a guy who did dental implants, and he was in Houston. He was a big dental implant client. He did mostly all on fours, and he was doing about 15, 20 cases a month. And those are big cases. If you don't know, they're $30,000, $60,000. And he said, I'm sustaining this business all off of these implant cases, and I only get them through ads. He said, I spend about $50,000 a month just on ads. He's spending $600,000 a year just on ads for these all on fours. And that was the only thing sustaining his business. And he said, I could do this forever. It's like, but I hate doing it and it bothers me. And that's the truth. Like, I have another practice that's a plastic surgeon that they are essentially sustaining their practice right now off of paid search, because they haven't signed up with us to run some of their SEO things. And so they are spending $500 a week just on paid search, and they run out of it in about 3-4 days too. It's not even lasting them the full week. And that is sustaining their practice right now. And it is the worst feeling, because that there are practices out there that are sustained through organic search and don't have to pay for every single click that they get. So again, sometimes this makes a lot of sense. Sometimes it's a placeholder. Sometimes it doesn't make any sense at all. To know what's best for your practice, we need to have a personal consultation. But that's really the pyramid, guys. We talk about, how do you earn the trust of the actual humans in your area that you want to attract and retain as clients? This is how you do that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to stop my presentation. I hope this helps you all. This is what's going to get you to your goals, okay? And to know about it for you, we need to have, again, I've said this a lot, so sorry, a personal consultation to really talk this through for your practice, get into the actual analytics for your practice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the room up for questions now, and I'm going to put my calendar link in the chat, excuse me. So if anyone wants to book a personal consultation with me, they are more than welcome. And then I'm happy to answer all of your questions. Thank you so much for your time.